Thank you for joining me in another episode of the mod development of my tech mod in Minecraft, the iljaTech mod. And it took me a while to work on these things, but I'm happy to show some new progress with the mod. And in this episode, I'm gonna show you all about the new blueprinting system and the guidebook. So let's jump right into it. You can craft the guidebook just with 3 blueprints and a book. And there you go, it's the engineer's notebook. Once you open the book, you can see that it doesn't only have pages, but that it has this progression tree. So you have to read things in a certain order and also unlock pages as you go. So this is gonna walk you through the mod step by step. So first thing, when you open the book, what you can read is a little bit information about the book. The book is written in a way as if the player writes it themselves. So the idea of the book is explained here. So I decided to put together this book in which I can keep writing my notes as I learn in one collected place. Perhaps in doing so, I will also gain clarity on the path forward. There is so much yet to learn. And that's because when you read through this book step by step, it's gonna unlock new pages and it's gonna show you what you should work on next. So next we should work on hammer and saw. There's also a little bit more information on the different entry types. So there's the normal pages, the blueprint pages, and the main goal pages. First actual thing you gotta do in the mod is the hammer and saw. So once you craft the hammer with this recipe, you can craft the plates, and once you have the plates, you can craft the saw, and you can already do some woodworking by right clicking these blocks in the world. So once you have these basic tools, you can get started with the mechanical power. You're gonna want some cranks and shafts to really start being able to power the machines. And then you also want machines. The two options you have in the early game are the roller mill and the squeezer. And as you see, machines usually have a blue page. And the blue page will also tie in with the blueprinting system that I added to the mod, which I will show more later. So the roller mill is very simple. You just gotta make the iron cylinders and then you gotta make the roller. And the reason why you need this is because you can make rods and then you can make nails out of them. And the nails you need to use it alongside with the hammer to make nailed planks. So the other machine we will need before being able to continue is the squeezer, and we need the squeezer of course for the seed oil. If you don't remember the squeezer, I'll quickly show it. So you just throw the seeds in here and then you gotta power it and then you gotta depower it so it has time to go back up, and then you power it again, depower. So then you get seed oil. Once you have the oil from the squeezer, the hammer and saw, and also the nails from the roller mill, you can get started with carpentry. And with the carpentry, we can work towards the first major goal of this whole early game tab, which is the research table. And the idea of the research table is that you need to do research before you can unlock more advanced stuff. For example, some stuff in the other tab will be gated behind the research table. So the researching system will be quite simple. First of all, you need to obtain research points. Right now you can just right click the research table and it gives you points, but that's just a placeholder because I haven't implemented the actual content yet. There's going to be different ways to obtain research points, but one of the main ways will be a little mini game that you have to play, like some puzzles that you solve in this research table. But there will also be alternative ways to earn the points for if players find the minigame too difficult or annoying. For example, maybe there's some ancient technology structures that you can find underground or in the world, and when you investigate them, maybe you also get research points. So I'm still thinking about that, and it's not fully added yet. For now, we can just get the points easily. And with those points, we can open the blueprinting table. So when we open this blueprinting table, you're gonna see that it shows a lot of papers. and we can also scroll up and down. And these papers you can also select. Then it shows how many points it costs to unlock and how many points you currently have. And as you see, this blue paper icon is actually the same blue paper icon what's used in a book, because this is related to each other, and the same things you unlock here in the research you can also read more about in the book. So if you want to research something, for example the bellows, you just click on it and it shows you how many points you have and how many it costs. And once you do that, okay, you see it subtracts one and you cannot do it another time. And then boom, you get the advancement bellows research. And what that's gonna do is that's gonna also unlock it in the book. I still have to find a way to mark it as complete. Maybe it gets a little check mark when you unlocked it or something. So if you were curious what these boiled eggs are in the research table, they are just some placeholders because I was developing a scroll bar, and of course I couldn't test if it works if there's only 4 things you can unlock. So for that I just added these boiled eggs. So overall I'm quite happy with how the system turned out. It was a bit difficult to make, and I'm still working more on it. But we can just spend the points now and unlock these other machines. And there you go, I unlocked all of them. Now this will be a good moment to talk a little bit more about this second page in the book, pyrometallurgy, because that sounds a bit complicated, but that's just related to ore processing. So there's two words here, pyro, which means fire, and metal, which means metal. So so for the fire, we of course need a firebox, and with that we can make the foundry. And in the foundry you can make alloys like bronze and steel. But for the bronze you also need tin ore, and then you can make bronze. But for the steel you also need the coke oven, and you also need limestone. And once you have all of that, you can craft the steel. So this whole pyrometallurgy tab will be for all the ore processing, not just bronze and steel, but in the next episode I'm also gonna add a new metal, which will be even further in the progression. And some things in the mod have not been added to the book yet, and I'm still figuring out where things go. Overall, it was quite difficult to think about where to put stuff. For example, yeah, where do I put the bellows and the boiling? I guess I could also put them in the early game tab, because the bellows you unlock after carpentry, and the boiling you just either unlock after the bellows or after the firebox. But the boiling, I could also move it to another tab together with other fluid stuff like pipes, valves, pumps, fluid storage tanks, and all that kind of stuff. And then there will also probably be a tab for other mechanical stuff like the gearboxes, windmills, and conveyor belts and that kind of stuff. So I'm really happy to have set this up with the book, so that when I add more stuff to the mod, I can also add it to the book. So I hope you like what I did with the guidebook and with the blueprinting system. And if you enjoyed this episode, let me know in the comments, and I would like to see you in the next one. Bye bye.